Well, in Scrum, autonomy, yes, if that's what motivates people, you mean I get to figure out how to do this? I get to use my talents and my abilities and my brain? Awesome, because I've got ideas. I do think that FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. And the more that as leaders, we can let people know this is a learning organization. You're not going to get fired for making a mistake. We want you to learn. That's how I learn. I don't know about you, but I learn more from my failures than from anything else.
Yep.
Sometimes it's that ego. That's what you're describing, right? Our ego is not our amigo, because somebody's ego, that little internal voice will be like, well, I can't admit that. I'll look stupid. No. We're all a team here. We want you to say where you need help or what's going on so that somebody else can maybe help you, or you could learn, or heck, you could teach someone else who needs help. So that's the whole point. It's not statusy or I want to say punitive. It's not really punitive. We're not trying to punish people by doing this. We're trying to say, we want you to share these things so that we can all learn.
Right. I love that you said this is a learning organization. If more people have that attitude that, hey guys, this is a learning organization. It's okay. I have a process I call, culture of failure. That it's okay to have a culture of failure as long as we're in the focus of learning from the failure. But I've never thought about the learning organization. That is great. So Scrum, the way you described it seems pretty simple, basic, but I'm assuming there's a lot of details around it.
It's actually only 5 events and 3 accountabilities. You would call them roles. The reason we call them accountabilities is the framework doesn't really care what you call them. For example, there's one person that we call product owner. You might call them CEO. You might call them product manager. You might call them delivery vice president, just whoever is giving the intent. Here's what we need. Here's why we need it. Here's who it's for.
Got it.
Then we have the doers, the people doing the work. And because this is based on product development, they do call them developers, but I don't have my clients get hung up on that. I'm like, just call them the people doing the work, right? If you don't like the word developer, product developer, people doing the work. And then we have this person we call Scrum Master, which is all about people and process, care and feeding. Are things going well? Can they escalate for removal of impediments or blockers that are impeding the doers from getting things done?
You said if it's care and feeding, not care and feeding.
Yeah, care and feeding.
I was like, care and feeding. Oh, she takes care of all the terrible people.
Right. Be like my son, latching onto that word. Ugh, okay.
So they're the ones who are in charge of all those processes, making sure everything works, everything's flowing the way it should.
Right. Okay. And sometimes in a small organization, and by small, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur that has 10 people or less, my organization is 10 people. I also have clients who have, 50 people. There are, of course, gargantuan organizations with tens of thousands of employees who have latched on to Scrum and Agile, but you have to kind of look at it in the context of a product, maybe a project, maybe in one department of that large organization. But in smaller entrepreneurial shops like mine, it really is a whole lot of common sense and a way to get things done. Because as the entrepreneur that founded this company, the last thing I want to be is a bottleneck. I don't want everybody going, well, go ask Angela, go ask Angela. No, don't ask Angela. She's busy, right? Like you figure it out.
That's why you were hired.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so when somebody implements the Scrum mentality or process, and is it a process? Is it a?
We call it a framework.
Framework. Okay.
We call it a framework because it's more like guidelines.
Okay.
It's like, no, we're not going to answer every single question. If you look at something like project management, that body of knowledge is like thousands of pages. They tell you how to think. You don't even have to just look it up. Scrum's more like guidelines because it's like, we're going to give you 3 accountabilities saying who's responsible for what. We're going to give you a few events, you might call them meetings, and say within those guidelines, figure it out. So if, we need to know who this is for, what it is, and why we need it, let's go to the product owner. Product owner, can you clarify that for us? Sure. But how are we going to actually do the work? That's up to this managed group of people.
So
They get to figure that out.
so I love that idea because right now there's such a focus, if you will, around, the TikTok mentality of, hey, I'm just here to do my job, collect a paycheck, and go home. Don't ask me to do more than I should. I don't need to like people around me. I don't like, if you got to tell me exactly what to do, I'll do exactly that, and that's it. How does Scrum help people take ownership of those accountabilities, those responsibilities that would kind of expand their horizons, if you will?
Yeah, that self-managed piece is huge. And I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Pink's work. For some reason, he popped into my head when we talk about what really motivates people. He always says autonomy, mastery, purpose. Well, in Scrum, autonomy, yes, if that's what motivates people, you mean I get to figure out how to do this? I get to use my talents and my abilities and my brain? Awesome, because I've got ideas. And it's not at the expense of quality, because we do talk about who this is for and what they expect, but we don't micromanage how people get that done. Purpose. We have this person called product owner saying, hey, here's the goal. Here's the intent. Okay, great. We've got a purpose. We've got a goal. And in Scrum, we look at those goals in 30-day or less segments. Now, the fancy word we use is sprint, but you could just say weeks. 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, or 4 weeks. And so we can have changing goals and objectives, but we're going to time box those events so that we have a bit of a baseline. We can figure out, are we doing well? Are we not doing well? And then mastery, people like to get better at things. I mean, look at why people play instruments or why people are on TikTok making videos. They like to use their creativity and to get better. So one of the Scrum events is all about, hey, how'd this week go? How'd this sprint go? Does anybody have ideas? Like, what could we do better? Or what could we stop doing, that wasn't really helpful? Because now you have an immediate chance to course correct that, as opposed to at the end of a long year when, well, why didn't you say something sooner?
Right, exactly. Well, I love that you're connecting the autonomy part with accountability, because I think in general, I have a process I take people through about the 5 support styles and how people feel supported. And one of them is autonomy. And when I say what the support styles are first, people are, oh, autonomy. I just want to be left alone. Tell me to do the job. Leave me alone. And I always back it up with, and in order for you to be there, you have to have a high ability of accountability. You have to really be good with that. So I think it's so good that it goes hand in hand together. So you wrote a book called the Scrum Master Files.
The Scrum Master Files. Yep.
And so you took the concept of Scrum and did what with it?
So that is kind of a confessional for me from when I was a new Scrum Master. Because one of the things I see people struggle with is if they want to move into a Scrum career, become a Scrum Master, and they've never done it, they're like, what kind of situations am I going to be in? What's it look like? What's it feel like? So it's like, well, here's some of my greatest failures.
Here's my journal.
Right. And so what I did is I created them in the form of case studies, but I completely anonymized them. There is not, and don't worry, clients, there's no non-disclosures being violated, but there also is no personal pronouns. So it puts the person, the reader, in the scenario. And then it's okay, what would you do in this situation, Scrum Master? And clients of mine swear to God, I'm talking about their company. So there's something universally appealing about stories, like you were saying at the beginning. It's like just put them right into the scenario. And then the fun part of it, after they work through what they would do in that scenario, is I tell them what actually happened. So I'm like, here's what actually happened, and here's how it could have been even better, because there's no one way to answer these things. And so it's 6 of my best, worst, however you want to think of that, situations that I found myself in when I was a new Scrum Master.
When you talk about people becoming Scrum Masters, is this kind of like a certification they go through first to learn it? Is it claiming it? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, the certification is a bit like getting your driver's license.
Okay.
So often people think certification is the end all be all. Yeah. And in this case, it's not. It's come to a 2-day workshop, take an online quiz after the workshop. Here's your driver's license. You are permitted on the street. Nice. We hope you actually get better by doing it. Right. And so people who are critical of that program, the Certified Scrum Master, always demonstrate that they don't get it, because they think it should be like a for your college degree. No,
Right.
it's your driver's license.
Yeah.
So if you've been working as a Scrum Master for a year or more and you have that CSM, Certified Scrum Master, you can come to an advanced workshop, and then we dive deeper into coaching skills, teaching skills, mentorship skills. And after they've been a Scrum Master for 2 years, the highest level is Certified Scrum Professional. So I'm certified to deliver all 3 of those. So there's only about 250 people in the world who have the credential that I hold to be able to deliver those workshops.
So would this be something that you would recommend for just a business owner in general to understand the framework and to be able to implement it in their office and make it easier for them? Hey, there's no reason to learn how to own your role on your own. If you like that clip, go ahead and click right here for another one. Or if you want to watch the entire podcast, go ahead and click right here. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.